Thank you for joining me. I'm meteorologist Brian Shields. Thank you for all the likes you've been putting on the videos. You've been keeping me going. But we are thinking of those in Jamaica. Roofs were ripped off. We had that over by the airport. Some of us had tropical storm conditions. Others just got clocked with hurricane conditions yesterday. We're thinking of you in Jamaica. The Cayman Islands this morning, heaviest weather, Grand Cayman. Still some tropical storm conditions over toward Little Cayman, on track. Watching that. I want to get into this as it moves toward Mexico and Texas. The curve it's going to take, the chance it does re-strengthen. Belize a little bit in the way of better news as we've been talking about together, and I want to get into this tropical disturbance that brought some of that rain back toward Barbados, for example, yesterday, and thinking of those still in Grenada, St. Vincent the Grenadines, not losing sight of view as we watch this. But winds right now 120 miles per hour. That's about 193 kilometers an hour. The core of that is just to the south of Grand Cayman right here. Here's Little Cayman. So again, worse weather just to the south of the Cayman Islands, but some hurricane conditions possible over the next few hours back through Grand Cayman. Here we are in Jamaica, and here's this tropical disturbance getting closer to Puerto Rico and the Dominican Republic, Haiti and the DR. We've also had some of the flooding on the backside of Hurricane Beryl. I'll get into this tropical disturbance. I want to take you out on time as that one works across. Some decent news in the tropical Atlantic right now, a couple tropical waves, but nothing huge. So watching what's going on kind of next as we get deeper into the hurricane season. You'll get updates every day right here on this channel. Now, as we take a look at what we've got going on, you see this red shading here. Those are the hurricane warnings that are up still for the Cayman Islands and parts of Mexico. I'm going to break that down further. Belize, the worst weather is simply up to the north. Some of us in Belize will get nothing, so we'll get into that. Then whatever is left of this, as it crosses parts of the Yucatan of Mexico, moves into the Bay of Campeche, slides across Campeche into the Bay of Campeche. There should be some re-strengthening, and then that curve to the north. I want to break down the American versus the European model. By the time we get into Sunday night, it looks like we'll have some hurricane conditions, northeast Mexico and South Texas as this progresses. Look at that curve here. I mentioned high pressure, a dominant feature that's been keeping this moving to the west-northwest. Well, high pressure breaks down. That's the blocker. That kind of moves away, and it allows this to make more of a curve back towards South Texas and parts of northeast Mexico as we get into later this weekend. So here's one of the breakdowns. A couple things here. The European model has this moving more so into northeastern sections of Mexico. Slight difference with the American model. That has a little bit more of a curve to the north, bringing this right into South Texas. So generally, they've been both in pretty good agreement, but a little discrepancy down the road, which is common. We're talking about 4 or 5 days away, but all making that turn. It's just how much of a turn. Now, once this gets into the Gulf of Mexico, again, it's going to lose some steam as it crosses land and then moves into the Gulf and the Bay of Campeche. The European model does redevelop this into a hurricane. Same thing with the American model. The Canadian model has this staying as a tropical storm, so it'll have some weakening and then just kind of hanging on to tropical storm strength. The icon brings us to a hurricane and a pretty strong one. So almost all seeing some re-strengthening as it starts to make its curve up toward parts of northeast Mexico into South Texas. So there's going to be some weakening once it moves into land, of course. Also, there's some wind shear right now as this is coming out of the Grand Cayman area. Wind shear is helping to weaken it. Those are hostile winds up above. That's a good thing. Then it will hit land again north of Belize, and I'll break that down. And then there should be a little bit of re-strengthening. This is 2 days out, or rather 1 day out, 2 days out, 3 days out. There should be a little re-strengthening once it gets over toward the Gulf and Bay of Campeche, and then of course moves in toward northeast Mexico and South Texas, and then we'll see weakening once it moves in. So right now it is still hurricane strength, but the core of the hurricane winds south of Grand Cayman, we're getting kind of hurricane conditions filtering in around that. Now this is later today. This will pull out of the Cayman Islands and work its way toward, you can see here's Campeche, you get over toward Yucatan, and then here's Belize right here. This will start to work in tonight. This is by midnight, and I'll show you the European model too with this. So this moves in as a hurricane, but the hurricane conditions do not come into Belize are going to be to the north, so I'm watching very closely. Mexico, you can see as you get toward Yucatan and Campeche. Here's Cancun. You can see the hurricane moves in. It is not like it was a few days ago when it was a powerful Category 4, Category 5 hurricane. So it's a different state, but it's still a hurricane. But then it will weaken once it hits land, comes out of Campeche into the Bay of Campeche. And then you see here, this is by Saturday. By Saturday, we should start to see some re-strengthening with this, fueling from the warm water here, and then eventually this works its way. This is Saturday night. That's when it should start to become a hurricane again, and then Saturday night into Sunday, starting to flare up. You see those brighter colors, and then this starting to work its way in by Sunday morning and especially Sunday night, either into South Texas or Northeast Mexico. Some of the same spots that got hit with Alberto. In either way, some of the rain could even creep in, all kind of those bands of rain lifting all the way up to the Beaumont and Houston area. I'll flip over to the European in just a second. Let me show you this better with the wind field here, also the American model. It just shows the circulation better. So here's Campeche, Yucatan, and you see here coming out of the Cayman Islands, this is later today, kilometers an hour and miles per hour. Now it shows a diminishing wind field, or diminishing winds, I should say, as this runs into land. That's common, so it kind of runs out of its fuel source, which is the warm water, as it crosses land, and then working our way into Friday evening. This is Friday night into Saturday. Now look at Saturday. You can see that wind field right here starting to redevelop, the center of this here, and this is where it starts to re-strengthen on Saturday. That'll be key because we'll know the track for sure on Saturday, how much of a north turn and how much it's going to re-strengthen. And then once we work our way into Sunday, this is Sunday morning, looks to be a hurricane. Not a Category 4, Category 5 at this time. Not seeing that, but seeing it re-strengthening into a hurricane. And then you see here, this is by Sunday at 6 p.m. The center of this would move onshore in extreme northeast of Mexico, or even right into Texas. You see the center right there, and that onshore flow that will once again bring the coastal flooding, especially back toward Texas. And then this here is Monday morning, which it could still be a hurricane in the diminishing as it starts to work its way inland. So here's that European model. So here's Texas, we get back through Mexico. Here's Belize right here. Cayman Islands here. Here's Grand Cayman. So this is later today, the action pulling away from the Cayman Islands. And then let me know how you're doing in the Cayman Islands when you can safely as we go through the day. Now we have these fronts up here. The blocker, the area of high pressure, has kind of moved away. It's broken down. This is what prevents things from moving to the north. These fronts here, the breakdown in the area of high pressure, are going to allow this to make a turn to the north. The blocker is not there anymore. So this here is, by the time we get into late Friday, coming out of right into Campeche with tropical storm and hurricane conditions going from Yucatan to Campeche, and then the breakdown in the area of high pressure. So at this point, that's going to allow it to make this curve right through here. It's just kind of how much of a curve to see what would the eventual impacts be to northeast Mexico and Texas. So let's go out in time here. This is by the time we get into a Saturday, and of note too, watching this rain here. Here's that other tropical disturbance. I'll get into that in a second. But right here, re-strengthening. The European model shows this as a hurricane on Saturday, especially by Saturday evening, and then working its way toward South Texas, Northeast Mexico. This is by the time we get into Sunday. So this is Sunday as a hurricane, strengthening too, and then it starts to work in. European has it a little bit more, making a landfall northeast Texas, where the American model, or rather northeast Mexico, where the American model has this making a landfall into South Texas. Not a huge discrepancy at this point, but it will make a big difference, of course, depending on where you live, and then that will start to work in. This is by the time we get into Monday, and once it moves into land, then eventual weakening. Water temperature is still warm. There's been a lot of action out there. Yes, it does temporarily, the systems that move across the water temporarily cools the water, relatively speaking, but not enough. Not quite enough. So some of the water temperatures, just checking, still 28, 29 degrees Celsius over toward the Bay of Campeche. So clearly warm enough for some re-strengthening once this reemerges. Now, the other thing to watch is there's a little upper level disturbance. This is on Saturday. This is the wind shear. Saturday, there should be strengthening because of the warm water temperatures that I just showed you. But once again, a battle between the warm water and the wind shear. There's a little wind shear in here, and that's why some of the models, like the Canadian model, are saying, hey, this is not going to become a hurricane again. But we have seen, I don't just use the models, as you well know, this hurricane has been outperforming the models for sure. And that's why I've been trying to let you know about that, because of the high heat content in the water, the very warm water temperatures. All right, this is by midnight. Midnight, this area moves in. But you see that there? Here's the Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico. Increased rain, not a named system, but watching out for the chance of additional flooding. Haiti over toward the Dominican Republic with this tropical disturbance moving in. And this is as we work our way into tomorrow afternoon. Scattered rain moving into Jamaica as we're trying to do the cleanup and just assess some of the damage. And you see here, this I covered this. This is Beryl, but watching this rain, even trying to pick up a little bit on Saturday over toward the Turks and Caicos and down to the south. Not seeing signs of organization out of this on Saturday, but still monitoring. There's a slight chance it tries to develop, and we know this season things could go from nothing to something very quickly, so watching that. But this is by the time we get into Saturday, and no big tropical waves back toward the east, but we'll see how these waves move, because it has been clearly so active this hurricane season so far. So breaking it down, Cayman Islands, simply put, the worst weather's moving away. Worst weather, Grand Cayman, all that I was talking about yesterday on track. I hope you are doing well. We'll check in with you. I'll check in with those comments. Let me know how you're doing throughout the day. Now, as we get over toward the Yucatan Peninsula, so Campeche, swinging all the way back toward Cancun, you can see the hurricane conditions, either tropical storm or hurricane conditions moving in as we work our way into tonight and into tomorrow. Winds 75 miles per hour, could be higher. In some locations, definitely could be higher, especially as you get over toward Cancun, down toward Cozumel, as you get over toward the Caribbean side where this would come on shore. Once this crosses over toward Campeche, we're going to see some of that eventual weakening. So it really does depend on some location. Watching out for some of the rain as well. But we are going to get the tropical storm to hurricane conditions moving in. Belize, this is still cautiously optimistic. Good news. So in Belize, I know even Honduras, high attention as it should be to this system, but Belize City north, we may get tropical storm conditions of 40 miles per hour, 65 kilometers an hour. Simply put, the worst weather will be staying to the north of Belize. Want to be clear, this is not a scare channel or anything like that. I like to let you know where there's been improvements, where things won't be as bad. Now, we get a look at those wave heights, of course, crazy. You see these brighter colors popping up. This is today into tomorrow, and of course, the seas are going to be a mess. You get toward the Bay of Campeche, Western Gulf, and you see an uptick here in the Central Caribbean. That's with that other tropical disturbance moving back, and even a little uptick on the offshore waters of the Bahamas on the Atlantic side. But you see those seas building there as Beryl makes its way toward parts of Texas and Mexico. Things are choppy to elevated, though, Cayman Islands back toward Jamaica on Sunday, because we have that other tropical disturbance that will be sliding in. As far as the rain goes, additional rain possible. This here is what's left of Beryl trying to leave the Cayman Islands, where we had some spots already over 100 millimeters of rain or 4 inches of rain. But that next tropical disturbance moves across. So Jacmel back toward Santo Domingo, higher rain totals at times. So once again, we're going to see flooding with that other tropical disturbance. So not even speaking of Beryl with that. This here is mainly the Beryl rain, and a lot of this already happened. You can see as we get over toward Little Cayman, not as much, but we've had those tropical storm wind gusts and some rain at times working in. Now, as we get back here, there's the rain. This is a 3-day total, so this takes us through Saturday. But this rain here by Sunday will eventually move towards South Texas and parts of Mexico. That's some of the heavier rain associated with Hurricane Beryl that will be moving in. I do want to point out Costa Rica, a little uptick in some of the rain totals. Let me know how you're doing, if you've had any flooding around Costa Rica, even parts of El Salvador, Guatemala, scattered storms around, watching Nicaragua too. And then you get toward the eastern Caribbean, Barbados, St. Lucia, St. Vincent the Grenadines, Grenada, Trinidad and Tobago. Rain chance will be on the minimal side, and even if you get some rain, the totals will not be super high. But Jamaica, we're going to see that rain chance increasing again as that next tropical disturbance moves in. So Hurricane Beryl leaves near the Cayman Islands today, but on Saturday, next tropical disturbance moves in, so the rain chance goes up. Scattered showers and storms possible in Trinidad and Tobago. Rain chance not super high. Unfortunately, it is down some in Barbados, especially our southern coast with the cleanup going on. St. Lucia, same thing. Rain chance eventually going down. In Grenada, rain chance stays minimal as we continue to, we are thinking of you, as we continue to assess the damage from Grenada right up toward St. Vincent the Grenadines. You see tomorrow and Saturday, that rain chance is on the lower side. 40% chance passing shower over toward Martinique. Dominica, rain chance a little higher, or not as high as yesterday, but over the next 3 days, about a 50% chance today, 30% chance tomorrow, going down as we work our way into Saturday. 30 to 40% chance in Guadeloupe, and about a 40% chance in Antigua, Barbuda, northeastern Caribbean. We need to get some rain. Rain chance is not super high. St. Kitts, Nevis, and Montserrat. Rain chance about 40% the next couple days. Anguilla and St. Bart's. 40% chance St. Martin, Saba, and Statia. And about a 50% chance of some isolated to scattered showers and thunderstorms in Puerto Rico. We could see some of that as this tropical wave, tropical disturbance slides by today and tomorrow. Puerto Rico and U.S. and British Virgin Islands, the seas are elevated, and we get an uptick in some of the rain. Bahamas, most of the action has been down to the south. Turks and Caicos, little bump up with some of that moisture trying to feed in as we get into this weekend. Dominican Republic, especially south side, watching out for some areas of flooding. Haiti, south side, watching out for some additional areas of flooding. Again, that's just going to add to some of the river trouble we've had. Belize, the worst weather with Beryl stays to the north of Belize, but we could get scraped by some tropical storm conditions. Rain chance in Aruba, Curacao, Bonaire, another spot where we need to get some rain. The rain chance stays on the low side. Down some Guyana and Suriname, still that chance of some storms and some rain, but the rain chance not as high as we have seen. Rain chance about 40% in Cuba, scattered showers and storms, 60 to 70% chance Panama, Costa Rica, but more so in Costa Rica. There's that surge of moisture, so some extra rain, 40 to 50% chance in Nicaragua, and about a 40 to 50% chance in Honduras. The seas are going to be elevated, no doubt, but again, Beryl staying to the north of Honduras, 50% chance of rain and storms, Guatemala and El Salvador, but if you get some, we will be getting some downpours, 50% chance across Mexico City, and of course, all eyes on the Yucatan Peninsula with what we are going to see with Hurricane Beryl moving in. Rain chance about 30% in Colombia, and about a 30% chance as we get back toward northern Venezuela. My friends in Bermuda, 20 to 30% chance of an isolated shower, very low rain chance today into tomorrow. So Beryl exits the Cayman Islands. It heads toward the Yucatan Peninsula, watching anywhere from Cancun back toward Campeche. We'll get that turn to the north, still try to fine tune how much of a turn and how strong it will be at that point. So we're thinking of you in the wake of Beryl, the ones that have already dealt with it. I'll be watching that second tropical disturbance back behind it, monitoring that. I'll be diving through the comments as we go throughout the day. And again, thank you for all the likes on the videos. I do appreciate that. I hope you are safe. I hope you are doing well, and have a good day ahead.